Welcome in, everybody, to the Thursday edition of, I was about to say the Dream Stream, Joe,
It
but
kind
it's
of is.
NBA Live today.
But it kind of is. It kind of is.
It's the OG Dream Streamers, that's for sure. And we're, as always, presented to you by SuperDraft Daily Fantasy. My name's Zach Graham, aka Kawhisenberg DFS, and as I alluded to, with my good friend Joe Metz. How you doing today, Joe?
Doing well. I'm excited to dive into this slate. We had some fun basketball last night. I was looking real pretty last night until Terry Rozier decided not to show up for the game. So I'm looking to make my money back today.
Yeah, we just got some big news right as the show is starting. Donovan Mitchell ruled out, Royce O'Neal available. So obviously we'll get into the Jazz and a myriad of other game time decisions and questionable tags here on this 5-game slate. I almost feel like there's more stuff to wait for, or like craziness that is probably going to ensue here on this slate compared to even the 11 gamer that we had last night. But historically, that works pretty well for us, especially with a slate like this where Houston and Phoenix, OKC and the Lakers, those two games, 2.5 hours separated from the first three. Enough kind of beating around the bush here. Let's go ahead and jump into these games. In the first one, Philadelphia at Detroit. Waiting on Joel Embiid news. I thought he was going to sit, and then we got news a few hours ago that he was intending to play, and now he's a game time decision.
The intending to play one is the most ambiguous thing you can say because it doesn't come from the team. It comes from the player. Obviously, a player, if you are talking about injury management, they're never going to say they don't intend to play because they're not actually actively hurt, if that makes sense. They're not so I am still operating. I mean, he is a game time decision. It's 50-50 to me. My gut is telling me he sits and it's just going to be madness. But this game is at lock. So if you are trying to take the angle of you don't want to stress about after lock, you're in luck. But at the same time, it's going to inflate a ton of ownership. It's going to sway ownership drastically one way or the other.
Oh, yeah. And really, how silly of me to forget Anthony reminding me, as always, that the Spurs do, in fact, suck.
Correct.
Let's slow your roll there, Joe. It's fine for Anthony to say that every day. I don't know about you. Last time I checked,
we are. If anything, we're 1-1 against each other. Let me get the mic up here.
Who won most recently?
We are 1-1 against each other, which to me is a wash. So the only thing that matters now, you take those two games away. The last thing that happened regarding these two teams is the championship, and that was the Bucks. So the Spurs suck.
Okay. Well, I can't argue with the fact that the Spurs do, in fact, suck. I don't know what happened to him last night, Anthony. I was out watching Austin FC dominate formerly first place Kansas City 3-1 in our home finale. Not in last place anymore, Joe. All right, enough bullshit. If Embiid does indeed sit, Andre Drummond priced up now on DraftKings 265, which obviously not in play if Embiid is in. But still, in my opinion, Joe, an absolute smash. And, clearly not so much the free square that he was at 4.4K.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the gift that someone just sent in the Discord. That was an elite usage of a gift. Anyways, but yes, Andre Drummond 6'5".
You still can't, you can't
ignore him
right?
completely. No, and the thing is, 6'5" to me, if Embiid is out, is still at least $1,000 too cheap. I think it's not that for. Yeah, it's not. I agree. You can argue he is a 9K plus player. You should argue he's a 9K plus player when Embiid's out. I don't, unfortunately, because it's only a 5-game slate. I still think he would be arguably the most popular player on the slate, aside from one of the two Lakers stars. FanDuel, I think he's 5'6". He would just be a smash button of the century, like he is on DK, but he's obviously cheaper and even more underpriced. So Drummond is a staple if Embiid's ruled out. But I think the interesting part now, if Embiid is in, me personally, I'm completely avoiding him if I'm playing one lineup. I think if I'm playing multiple, he is a good play.
Okay.
I'm curious to see what happens, with Georges Niang, with Seth Curry, with Matisse Thybulle, and Tyrese Maxey if Embiid's in, because I still think all 3 of them, or 4 of them, I should say, are viable on this slate. The ownership will not reflect that, however.
Yeah, I agree with you. For me, Embiid, and I think I'm in the minority here, and I'm not saying that the concerns about Embiid's potential minutes if he does play on this back-to-back aren't valid. Again, the rankings that Eddie and I do daily, or at least when one of us is on the stream, are focused mainly towards...
Missed a couple days, but yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Mainly towards GPPs. I think 80 to 90% maybe of the people in the FTN NBA Discord are GPP players. And so that's what that's geared to. So I have Embiid at a 10 if he plays. I think even 28, 30 minutes of Embiid on this 5-game slate, we'll get into some of the studs, specifically those 2 Lakers guys without LeBron later, who I would prefer. But Embiid to me still such a strong play against a Detroit front court. Like, who is going to be guarding him? Isaiah Stewart and Kelly Olynyk? Okay.
And maybe some Jeremy Grant if they go small. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty, like, either way.
Yeah. Like, for me, the usage was, I think, a little bit lower than it would settle if we had a larger sample. Last night it was 36.5% usage. I think it's going to be closer to 40 over the season without Simmons and Harris on the court. And we saw the peripherals, right? The points weren't there. He shot well below his averages, 6 of 18 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, and only 5 of 9 from the free throw line. To me, the peripherals were extremely attractive: 9 boards, 7 assists, 2 stocks. If he would have scored it at his normal rates, he puts up a fine number at that price. Correct. So if he is indeed in, that's my case, and we can get out ahead of it. If you think he doesn't play, Andre Drummond would be double 10s for me. He came up on SuperDraft as well, but nowhere near. To your point about him being still underpriced by 1,000, I think it's much more than that. Like, you recall how expensive Andre Drummond was back on Detroit and in his short stint with Cleveland. Like, when this guy is the starting center and getting 30+ minutes, he's at least a 9K player.
Well, he approached, if not top 10K at times in Detroit.
Yeah, he was 5 digits sometimes.
Which, like, arguably the most expensive player on the slate. I think
not to mention, where's the game tonight?
Oh, dear Lord.
Drummond in Detroit playing 30+ minutes. I don't know if I can hit him with the 11 tag again, but he would.
I think you can. I definitely think you can. I'm trying to get a gauge. He's obviously 5-game slate, going to be extremely, extremely popular, but I don't think he'd get to that 80+% number that we saw. I would think he'd top out at like 60%.
65 sounds about right to me.
Which I think is, if I obviously don't MME, but if I did, I would be way over that. So I think if anything happens with Embiid, I'm going to be over the field on Andre Drummond, whatever that number is. If it's 100, I'll be 100%. It's the only way I'm matching it.
We saw that news come out in the morning. What was that? Monday? Sunday? I think it was Monday.
Slate. That was Monday morning.
And he was, I think 80 to 85% owned in most contests on DraftKings that day.
Yep.
So if 15% of the field talked themselves out of Andre Drummond when they had all day to do it, I just don't think we get, like, to your point, I don't think we get the ownership where it should be, and he would be a lock for me. But that's we will obviously circle back when we get that news. The rest of this team, I agree. I believe you listed Curry, Korkmaz, Milton,
Thibault, and Niang.
Niang.
The thing is, it's all like, all of these guys are viable. I also think there's a viability there even if Embiid's in, because Tobias and Ben Simmons being out is a massive amount of usage in peripherals. If I had to look at those ancillary pieces, I still think Seth Curry is my favorite, especially on FanDuel. For 5,100 as your second shooting guard, I think it's a very, very safe play in any format. And I was wrong about Georges Niang in the second game, in last game. I did not think that volume. I did not think that volume was in. I think he had 16 shot attempts in that first game without Embiid.
Yeah,
approach that
shot
number
really
again
well last night too.
He did, but the thing is, it's at a point now. I know it's 2 games in a row. It's only 2 games, but the role's there. If he's playing that many minutes, 3,700 on FanDuel, 4,400 on DK. Again, this is a minutes play. It's hard to completely ignore it. And Anthony in the Discord obviously reminding us Korkmaz is questionable right now. So
yeah,
him being out would obviously open up more minutes for Thibault. I'm not going to say Seth Curry still play the minutes anyways, but potentially Shake Milton, but they seem to be operating pretty conservatively with Shake.
I think Seth is probably my favorite piece, absent the Korkmaz news so far. Obviously, Thibault sitting at 3.6, Niang at 4.4 with Korkmaz out. We'll get a bump in the rankings, and I'm sure projections across the industry. But Seth Curry has seen over the last 2 games 34 minutes in both games, shooting the lights out from the field right now, but only 3 for 10 2 games ago against Portland from 3. The peripherals are getting a bump with Tobias Harris out. You saw 6 boards, 5 assists against Portland, 5 boards, 3 assists, and a steal last night against Chicago. And this guy's gone over 20 real points in 4 of the 8 games for Philadelphia. So at 5'9", I think I kind of made a similar case last night. I think nobody's going to get there. And the upside at 5'9" is still pretty solid. So I like targeting Seth Curry at what I think is going to be low ownership. And then Anthony also asking if Embiid's out, do we have any love for B-Ball Paul? And unfortunately, my answer is no. I just don't think Doc Rivers wants to play this guy. He's already shown with Embiid out that Paul Reed gets 9 minutes. He's going to play Georges Niang for 30 plus. He's going to play Korkmaz. And I think Korkmaz being out, you might get double-digit Paul Reed minutes, but on this slate,
on this slate, you don't. And the thing is, this isn't I know it's a 5-game slate, but it's not a value-starved slate by any means.
Exactly.
Especially at the in the front court. Obviously, if that happens, Drummond I consider a value from a per dollar standpoint. You still have JaVale McGee and Frank Kaminsky. You have Georges Niang, who I would be much more inclined to play than Paul Reed. You have Alfred Sengun. You have DeAndre Hunter. You have Joe Ingles, who has forward eligibility now with under 5K with Donovan Mitchell out. There are so many guys where you just don't need to take that risk.
Shit, don't leave out Frank Kaminsky, baby. Frank the
I said Frank.
Oh, you did?
Don't worry. Oh, I said it. I'm pretty interested in Frank Kaminsky today. Trying to, as Herm said, I'm gonna have basically I'm a single entry player having 2 lineups to build, one if Ayton's in, one if Ayton's out. Because if Ayton's in, I would probably want to have any Suns, maybe Jay Crowder. If he's out, I want Kaminsky or McGee. I actually tend to lean Kaminsky. I think the matchup with the Rockets caters more towards him being on the court, a little more so than JaVale McGee. And the thing is, we know last game was perfect proof. JaVale McGee's not going to see 25 minutes. He's not going to see 20 minutes. His minutes won't change. His role will. Minutes won't. So I like Kaminsky quite a bit. But, Kaminsky sitting at 3.5, that's a smash button.
Yeah.
I know. That is a absolute smash button if Ayton is out.
Well, let's flip to the other side of that first game and talk Detroit, because we got news Cade Cunningham will have no minutes limits or something like that going forward. I thought we already got past that.
Well, so they said no. They said no minutes limit, but the bigger note was that he also won't be limited on back-to-back. So I just think this is officially saying, hey, he's free.
Yeah. Well,
he's free, but he has to find the bottom of the damn basket.
3 for 22 and 0 for 14 from 3 to start the career. Hey, 2 for 2 from the free throw line, though.
For what it's worth, the guy was a 40% three-point shooter at Oklahoma State. Arguably the most NBA ready prospect that we've seen in years.
Dude,
I think he'll
smash him in today.
You have to. Higher price. He's still gonna be popular, but his ownership's gonna be lower than it was last night. I'm 100% both sides. I'm smashing him on both sides. The only deterrent, he's only $600 less than Mike Conley on FanDuel. I'm playing both.
Yeah, I
think
think
you have to choose one. It's pretty obvious who you're choosing in that scenario.
I mentioned this on Tuesday when you and Kyle and I were on.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing FanDuel ranks and I'm not playing anymore, I'm less familiar with the pricing over there. And as I also said, the multi-position eligibility, when I do look at that pricing, throws me off from my normal
fair
look at FanDuel. But from what I looked at on Tuesday, I assume it hasn't changed much. Pricing very friendly over there still, and probably diluting some of that ownership that on other sites you're seeing become more concentrated.
Correct. Yep. 100%.
But if Embiid is out, like I have no issue locking Cade Cunningham into your lineups tonight on DraftKings at 4K. Like we know this guy's going to produce at a much higher rate than we've seen. He's not going to shoot freaking 13% for the rest of the season. And 29 minutes last game in almost a 30-point loss to Milwaukee. Like the minutes upside is so much higher than we've seen so far. And that price is going to rise so rapidly once he does start producing. I'm riding it until we see either the minutes come down or he's not getting the usage. And neither of those things we can really project today to be lower than what they were against Milwaukee.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, take efficiency aside, this guy is taking – I mean, he legitimately has 20-plus shot upside. That alone, he's taking almost 10 threes a game, which obviously on DraftKings carries weight. I also think that what we saw in the who they play their debut, his debut, 19 minutes, he had 7 rebounds. I think that rebounding rate is much more reminiscent of what to expect than his 2 rebounds against the Bucks. But I just don't like. There were people in the Discord today, it's just saying he's Markelle Fultz 3.0. He's just another Michael Carter Williams. Like, guys, he's played less than 60 total minutes. Cade Cunningham is going to be a very, very good NBA player.
At worst.
But if that's the mentality that people are taking, sign me up. Like, absolutely sign me up.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if outside of Cade, I don't know if I can get to anybody on Detroit.
Okay. I have some guys that I would consider. I think
I think it depends on Embiid news. If Embiid's out, I don't mind one of Jeremy Grant, Olynyk, or Isaiah Stewart.
Okay.
I think
some significantly different price points there. Jeremy Grant up at 6'8".
You're right.
And then Kelly Olynyk 5'1".
5'1".
Isaiah
What's Isaiah Stewart's around there? 4 something?
4'6" for Isaiah Stewart now. So I have not looked at my best ball teams lately, but I know Isaiah Stewart ownership is not going great with the minutes being limited to start the season. But down at 4'6", I agree with you, especially if Embiid is out. I think there is some meat on the bone there with the beef stew. Sub 5K. It's such a tough matchup if Embiid is in there, and we know that Andre Drummond literally gets clowned on by opposing coaches in the media. Like, we're not worried about him out there. But the fact that he is that true center, they need big bodies down there. I think Stewart and Olynyk will probably have to at least split the 48 minutes, if not share the court. When guys like Niang are out there for Philly, things like that. And I don't think if you're running, 20 plus lineups, certainly 150, Killian Hayes at 3.9 is not a terrible value. Obviously,
I don't mind that.
I would play Cade Cunningham 100 times out of 100 over him. But if you're fading Cade Cunningham, it's an interesting pivot right there. Not my favorite. We'll get into guys like Malik Monk and maybe some of the value opening up in Atlanta. But I think that's about enough on Detroit here. Sadiq Bey fell under 6K on DraftKings, but I still don't think I'm getting there as a priority. Should shoot much better than the 2 for 13, 0 for 4 from 3 he did last game. Let's jump into these 7:30 games, though, and we'll talk Boston-Miami first, as we can hopefully get some Atlanta news as we're talking. Boston on a back-to-back, correct?
Yes, they are.
Playing last night, winning against Orlando in a thrilling 92-79 game. And very similar prices on DraftKings today. A little bit of movement in the front court. Jason Tatum up at 9.8, Jaylen Brown 900 cheaper. Then you've got Al Horford, who's been phenomenal from a fantasy standpoint. I can't really say he's been great from a real basketball standpoint, considering the Celtics record, but certainly performing better than I think 90% of people probably thought he would in his return to Boston. Talk to me about some of your targets, if any, from this Boston team.
This has been now 2.5 years I've done this. Anytime Jason Tatum is like $1,000 around that range more expensive than Jaylen Brown, I just opt for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, and again, I play FanDuel a little. I play both sites. I play FanDuel a little heavier. Jaylen Brown's only 8.4 there, and I think that is a steal for 8.4. I understand people don't like a matchup with the Heat, but Jaylen Brown, I don't really take matchup into account. If Jimmy Butler is going to if someone's worried about Jimmy Butler defense, he's much more likely to cover Jason Tatum, I think, than Jaylen Brown. I don't think Bam can do much on the perimeter against Jason Tatum. So I'll just take the savings for the player that right now is performing better. And I think there's less volatility in Jaylen Brown's game simply because of the way he plays, the way he attacks the basket. Jason Tatum's a tough shot taker. He doesn't attack the basket. If those tough shots aren't going in, he's not doing much. So I understand that he has 50 raw point upside, but I'll take Jaylen Brown for savings. So Jaylen Brown is actually one of my favorite plays on FanDuel right now because of all the value you have to spend up somewhere. And with, Westbrook 9-2, AD 10-5, you need more than that. I don't mind Jason Tatum. Just a tournament play for me. Al Horford continues to smash, and I know they said he's going to be active in playing. I wouldn't be surprised if his minutes are scaled back slightly on the second leg of a back-to-back.
Okay.
So I'm more inclined to target him in the betting market. So if you guys are betting, over 7.5 rebounds continues to be an absolute smash for me for Al Horford. He's at a double-double in every game this year. I think 7.5 rebounds. I'm a little hesitant to take the double-double because of the potential minute reduction, but 7.5 rebounds is an absolute joke. Don't have a ton of interest in these guards, in Schroeder and Smart. If you buy a narrative that Smart might get the ball more from his press conference, then go for it. But that's where my mind's at for Boston right now.
Yeah, I mean, no real priorities for me on DraftKings from Boston. I think I gave their entire starting 5 8s. I just think that
that's fair.
Like you mentioned the price on Tatum, the difference between he and Jaylen Brown. We got a question from T Panther saying, is Jason Tatum broken? Eddie and I talked at length about his shooting woes, especially over the last 3 games on last night's stream, and that continued last night, 4 for 16 and 1 for 6 from 3. I
just think a lot of it is shot selection. Well, it's variance, and a lot of it is shot selection. But the thing is, he's also done this for 3 years now. Like, it's not
true.
I think he's.
I mean, he's 3 games removed from going 50%, 50%, 57% from the floor at high volume. 28 shots, 24 shots, 22 shots. Like, that's part of the reason why he got a 10 for me on SuperDraft, especially on the short slates. You want to lean heavier into guaranteeing that high floor of your production and not necessarily chasing the shiny new 1.8x guy. Because again, you need to get those fantasy points. And if a guy even at 2x only gives you 25, that's only 50 fantasy points on a lot of slates. That's not going to be enough.
That's very, very fair.
So that's why I'm continuing to go back to Jason Tatum on SuperDraft, he's not at the floor. He's a 1.15x there, and Jaylen Brown's 1.2 next to him. So Jaylen Brown also got a 9. I would just much prefer to get Tatum there, sitting slightly off that multiplier floor. Again, it's Robert Williams' price, Time Lord, continues to come down on DraftKings. But when Al Horford's in, we haven't seen him perform. He has not performed to the same level that we know he's capable of fantasy-wise. And with this entire team, or at least all the important pieces healthy, Dennis Schroeder, Marcus Smart, very much secondary plays for me. Smart only got an 8 because, starting, he's going to play 33 to 38 minutes, right? He's got a pretty big minutes ceiling, especially in a matchup like this that's going to be highly contentious between Celtics and the Heat. Can't Josh Richardson. I don't even know if we have – he got ruled out finally. And X-rays on his foot coming up, I guess. Not believed to be a serious injury, but cause for enough concern to get X-rays. So probably a few more minutes to guys like Romeo Langford. Maybe Grant Williams picks up some more time. He was only in the single-digit minutes, Grant Williams, that is, in the last game. So doesn't, J. Rich being out does not do much for me. You ready to move on to the Miami side?
Yeah, I am. And I'm curious, I've seen a lot of actually about Bam or Jimmy in this game. Do you have in a vacuum a preference between the two?
I mean, raw points is still going to be Jimmy for me. He's doing a little bit of everything for this team in the box score and on the defensive end, which I guess Jimmy fans and Miami fans would say, yeah, that's what he always does. But he's doing it at a really efficient rate. Like, it's amazing to me that one of the best players in the NBA, who is a wing, and I think some people could even call him a guard, doesn't shoot threes. Does not shoot threes. 113 attempts.
You look at, and this is my way of bringing the Bucks into it. I understand, but like the perfect example to illustrate this. Look at the first round of the playoffs last year. The Bucks are an elite defense everywhere except defending the three, and Jimmy Butler could not do a thing against them. He didn't even step out to shoot threes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just his game, but it's always been his game.
I agree. As I realized, looking at the chat and the question from not Fast Eddie, just regular speed Eddie, asking about Clarkson and Conley. Are you able to stack them tonight? I agree. As you said, you can definitely play both. Realizing that I had Donovan Mitchell still in the rankings. So Utah ranks updates are coming. Again, that news came out as soon as we went live. So I'll push an update here shortly. But back to the Heat.
You already have the Utah. You already have the Jazz pretty high too. So,
I mean, it's just the high the minutes concentration in a matchup against Atlanta. And I was, some of those guys were already bumped up thinking that Donovan Mitchell might sit to limit the. That's
fair, but I think
limit the changes that I would have to make. So
we'll obviously hit on Utah shortly, but the follow-up question was locking in Conley at 5,200 on FanDuel. Agreed. Would you go for Clarkson or Ingles? Clarkson 5K, Ingles 4.4. On FanDuel, I legitimately think you can play all three because of how cheap they are. I'm totally fine with that. You can swap out Bojanovic if you want, but I think all four are very valuable. Anyways, back to the Heat.
Who's your favorite guy in Utah before we get back to the Heat right now on DraftKings specifically? Because I think for me it's it's Conley.
I think on DraftKings I struggle a little more after Conley. I want at least two. I have my two lineups right now. If Ayton is out, my two Jazz are Conley and Clarkson. If he's in, they're Kanye. Wow.
Woo.
God, Conley and Bojanovic. I think all of them are viable. I think that in a vacuum, I think I prefer Bojan over Clarkson on DraftKings.
Yep.
I'm curious with Ingles because Conley has not been a facilitator with Mitchell there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we see him step into that role with Mitchell out. I think we see Conley more assume the voluminous scoring duties, and which we've seen him do. And then Ingles, if he enters the starting lineup, is typically the facilitator that we've seen when Mitchell's out in the past. So I don't know. We could see either way.
Yeah, Conley and Bojan picking up 10s for me on DK in the ranks. I think the biggest bump here goes to those two. Conley for all the reasons.
Embiid is available to play.
Okay, perfect. Well, as I said about 15 minutes ago, I love Embiid in tournaments tonight. I can completely understand if you would want to shy away for minutes concerns, but for me, I don't think he's going to pick up as much ownership as he should in these large field contests against a team like Detroit. Let's go ahead and finish up Miami, and then we'll get to the Utah side. I think for me, like I was saying, Jimmy Butler points. I think Bam. I'll take the $1,500 savings on DraftKings. I gave them both 9s. I think they both have upside for their prices. Obviously, Jimmy has been threatening with kind of that triple-double upside. He hasn't quite got there yet, but we know he can hit that. And even without that triple-double bonus on DraftKings, already 352 plus DK point performances. And you need more out of that 9.6 price tag, but 47 and 49 and 3/4 over the last two are not going to crush your lineups tonight. I'm still kind of in wait and see mode on Kyle Lowry. Finally had a good game last time out, but it took 7 of 10, 6 of 9 from 3, right? And matching his season high in assists. I think the assists are for real. The points I'm a little bit questionable on. The price also came up. I think he was hovering around 7K. Now it's 7.7. Tyler Hero kind of in a similar boat for me. I just don't know. At 6'7", I think the upside is almost priced out at this point. He's going to need to get you 40 plus, which he's shown 3 times this year. But those are massively efficient performances, 9 for 13, 12 for 28. The 28 shots we're not going to see again, and 10 for 18. So, man,
there's obviously I think Bam and Jimmy will pick up a little ownership simply due to the size of the slate. I think before that Mitchell news, I would have pegged Kyle Lowry to be a pretty popular option on FanDuel. He's only 5'9". But with that news, now it opens up Jordan Clarkson for 5K, Mike Conley for 5'2". You obviously still have Cade at 4'6". I still like Conley at that price, especially seeing that he's 7'7" on DraftKings. I just don't think he's a priority. I'm torn. Tyler Hero, I actually like. I don't think he's going to see the volume that he saw last game but he's to deny the form he's in would be ignorant. Like looks great. I don't know if I pay 6-7 for him on DraftKings, but where you have $10,000 extra in salary on FanDuel, he's 6'4". I'm fine with that, especially with a rather thin small forward position in that pool today.
Some good news for Milwaukee tomorrow. Drew Holiday listed probable. Brooke Lopez still
saw
out.
That.
We'll deal with that tomorrow. Last question I have for you on the Heat. Yeah. Duncan Robinson, we talked about him on Tuesday. Price came even further down to 4.2. We know all it takes is that game where he hits 6, 7, 8 threes, and he's going to get on top of that price. You attacking that at all? Guard forward eligible on DraftKings?
I just don't think I am. And similar reasons to what we discussed the other night, but also baked into that now is so much value at the same positions that he is. If you are MMEing, I want to sprinkle a little bit of him, but he's not a priority for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and go to Utah and Atlanta. Hopefully that will bring us some Atlanta news. We can go ahead and finish up Utah because I think we kind of half covered them already. Hassan Whiteside is available to play. And Jared Butler, I think, was the other guy who was questionable with an illness. He will also play and probably still won't have much of an effect on that rotation. I could see him getting, 6 to 10 minutes, I guess, with Donovan Mitchell out, but not really affecting what we're doing from a DFS standpoint. As I mentioned, Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic, my favorite two pieces on DraftKings from this team. I think Bojan's going to pick up. I mean, you remember 2 years ago, before Donovan Mitchell was kind of at the level he's at now, Bojan was score like it was mostly just points. Right?
It was, dude. He had a stretch where it was like 30, 35 every other game. It wasn't and he was just money from three.
Yep. I mean, this is a guy who can flat out score the ball, and I think with the extra usage, extra shot attempts tonight at 5K, I absolutely love that play. Yep. I'm a little bit lower on Joe Ingles. He's somebody that I like. You mentioned it. The facilitation is something that he really thrives on, especially in that second unit. And the fact that Conley is still there and you would think plays 30, maybe low 30s in minutes, and extra usage to go around. I'm just not super high on Joe Ingles. Obviously in play at 4.6.
He's my fourth favorite of the guys. But God, and this is going to sound a little, this might be a hot take, but if you factor in salary, 4.6 for Joe Ingles, based on the builds you can get, I think I'd rather play KJ Martin for 3.6 with Daniel Tice out. I think I'd almost rather play Matisse Thybulle for 3.6.
Ooh, we'll talk about that. I'm ready to get to the Rockets, man. I'm excited to talk Rockets.
Because your boy Şengün is going to be chalk.
Well, that and some other things. I think some people are maybe overlooking a player who is coming back tonight. But let's finish up here with Utah. Rudy Gobert sitting at 8.6. How do you feel about him going up against Clint Capella?
They're just going to bang down. Wow. They're just going to battle down low.
Thomas, clip that, please.
Yeah. Gobert's never a player I go out of my way to roster. If I landed him, fine. I don't know if there's any player in this starting lineup that the needle doesn't necessarily move a ton with Mitchell out. It's Gobert.
Sure.
With that said, I think he's a fine play. I prefer, if you're looking at just the two centers in this game, I much prefer him to Capella. But that's the extent of my analysis on Gobert today.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, dude, his rebounding is unbelievable to start the season. We know he's not going to avrage close to 18 rebounds.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Throughout the season, but even through any 7-game stretch, 17.6 boards a game is elite, to
pretty
say the
remarkable,
least.
Yeah, 100%.
Royce O'Neal, 4K, gonna play. has not produced at the, he's always been a moderate fantasy producer, to put it nicely, but it's always about the minutes with Royce, right? Minutes down a little bit this year, only averaging 30, but especially with Mitchell out, I think the upside is 35, 36 minutes here. And at 4K, I think he's in play, but he's just not a priority for me. How many lineups would you have to build before you got a Royce O'Neal?
A lot.
If you're building 20, do you have one or two, or are you just
maybe one? But honestly, okay. Royce O'Neal is a player for me that I'm typically more inclined to play in cash games than I would in tournaments. It's just that minute security with that safe floor with a very questionable ceiling. Anthony, I do like Horford over 8.5 rebounds at plus money. I like it quite a bit.
Dello pointing out that Royce O'Neal definitely a fringe fit better. I think that's a pretty good description of him.
He's like, if you look at the Fitbit spectrum, I think he's like a step above Dorian Finney-Smith. Those two are like interchangeable.
I like that.
It's really interchangeable. Jason Tate is quickly growing on that spectrum.
Hey man, he had a pretty good output last night.
I know.
Let's talk Atlanta before we move to that Houston-Phoenix game. We've only got about 20 minutes to lock, so we'll pick up the pace a little bit for everybody. Waiting on news on John Collins here. Game time decision. Listed questionable all day. Then Bogdan Bogdanovic downgraded from probable to questionable midday. Excuse me, a little burp there.
Which that I think worries me more than Collins. The midday questions are always a little. I think one of them sits. Now here's my go ahead.
The timing of when we got that Bogdan news seems to me like he showed up to the arena in Atlanta. He went to the training room. He's not feeling right.
Since something was off. My question here, obviously DeAndre Hunter way too cheap on DraftKings at 4K.
Yep, that's
similar sentiment.
This team.
Yeah, even if they're both warming up right now on the floor at State Farm Arena. That doesn't necessarily mean they're playing, but they're warming up.
It's a good sign.
It is a good sign. I still like DeAndre Hunter at 4K. I think it's a value you can easily get off of if they both play. If Bogdanovic is out, Bogdanovic is in, so is Collins. Well, that takes away Kevin Huerter from me at 4-1 on FanDuel. Atlanta's just a very crowded team. And Nate McMillan, and we saw this when he took over midway through last season, pace just comes to a halt. Starters minutes, they will not get more than 34 minutes. That might even be high on back-to-back. We could very well – John Collins probably sits around 29 minutes. Clint Capella, 29-30. Trae Young, 32-33. Like, I just don't think you need to go here. I think if I go somewhere, it's DeAndre Hunter now because of the minutes and his price. But I don't know if I want to kind of deal with the headache that is this deep rotation anywhere else.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's DeAndre Hunter picked up a 9 for me. We were talking about him before we went live. I mean, at 4K with the minutes opportunity that he's seeing, obviously been a very volatile fantasy asset in terms of his per minute rates. But the price is just too cheap. Is he going to go 10 for 11 from the field again and 6 of 6 from 3? No, probably not. But if he's going to play 33 minutes, I have a ton of interest there. I think he's somebody that with kind of obviously Cade Cunningham, some of the values that we've discussed already from Utah and some in the final 2 games here, he could go overlooked, I think, at that price. And so I really like him. I think it's fine to roster Trae. Obviously a tough matchup, but Trae Young, one rebound away.
Yeah, he's 8,600 on FanDuel. That's a very, very, very strong price for Trae Young. But you obviously don't have the double and triple double bonuses. But again, I think that's a fine price to pay, especially with Westbrook sitting at 9-2. You can play both of them. Trae won't have any ownership.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on to these night games, and we'll talk Houston and Phoenix. Let's talk the Houston side first. So talk to me. I know you mentioned KJ Martin Jr. Esquire as a target for you. Talk to me about him, and then the rest of this Houston roster with Tice out.
Yep. So Tice out. I think this game for the Rockets, it's not necessarily a very favorable matchup on paper, but this Phoenix defense has been bad, really bad this year. if Ayton's out, I think there's a higher likelihood we see teams go small a little bit more with Kaminsky at the 5 for Phoenix. And I think in turn that would lead to obviously Christian Wood at the 5, but I think we'd see more KJ Martin at the 4, even potentially at the 3, and Alperen Şengün at the 5. I don't know. Like he's 3.6. He's 3.6 on DraftKings, 3.7 on FanDuel. It's hard to, he's getting 20 plus minutes, maybe more with Tice out. It's hard to kind of knock that value. I still think if you're looking in that price range in a vacuum, I probably still prefer Thibault very slightly because of the minutes. Korkmaz ruled out. So that helps Thibault on the wing. That helps Seth Curry very slightly, I guess. So I am Thibault over KJ Martin or Junior, whatever the hell. But I think he's a strong play.
Yeah, updating some Philly ranks here. Well, man, as I kind of hinted at, Eric Gordon coming back tonight is throwing a wrench into all the wing value.
That is a very good call that I completely overlooked. Okay.
I've seen some projections across the industry that don't even have any minutes for Eric Gordon. And I think in this spot with Tice out, Daniel House out, this could be a 30-minute spot potentially here for Eric Gordon, guard forward eligible at 4.7.
And we know what Eric Gordon can do in 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, he can pop for you, and he can completely screw you. But
he can do both. Yes,
I have. It's not crazy interest at 4.7. Like a lot of these Rockets are priced advantageously. I think Christian Wood gets an extra cookie, obviously with Tice out. He's 1.2x on SuperDraft. He picked up a 10. You talked about Şengün 4.1. I'm not sure he'll get the start again here, which is why I think they could start Eric Gordon and kind of slide Jae'Sean Tate down to the 4 up against this Phoenix team.
Okay.
But Şengün at 4.1, like even if he's just playing those backup minutes, we know he gets the blowout run too if Phoenix takes care of business. I just think he's an extremely safe play on DK, and he picked up a 10 for me, assuming he starts on SuperDraft at 1.95x. 26 minutes is what's that?
Crazy. I think it's 1.85. You should probably ask the person who made the price, but T Panthers just came in and said Eric Gordon 1.85.
Oh, I was going up my SuperDraft ranks here. He's got a 9. He's got a 9 for me.
Uh-oh. So wait,
it's the 1.85x is too high.
The ceiling there, legitimate. Again, this is stars aligning. He plays 30 minutes, has 30 plus raw point upside. That's top 1% outcome. But if that happens, you're almost sitting at 60 to 70 SuperDraft points after the multiplier and raw points alone. So anything else is a bonus there.
Well, and I don't even know if it's a top 1% outcome. Like we know this guy can score. And if any sort of foul trouble were to happen for Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Jae'Sean Tate, like he can fill in at so many positions for this Houston team. I just have some interest in a guy like that who's, I think, going completely overlooked unless I'm missing something from some of the other sites. So Porter Jr., I like a ton on SuperDraft. Talked about last night about how it's really the opportunity has been there. He has not shot the ball very well, but he's a guy that puts up a lot of peripherals, has steal, and some block upside sometimes. He's just a guy at 6.4 on DraftKings I have some interest in, and at 1.45x on SuperDraft I think is a really strong play. Let's flip to the Phoenix side.
Philly starting line came out, no surprise. Maxi. Shake Milton starting at the 2.
So Niang off the bench. Yeah, so Hayes, Cunningham, Bay, Grant, Stewart.
What does that do? So I guess the question here is, what does that do for you for Shake? Because he's been semi-limited for 3 games now. Do you think this is a 30-minute upside at a very, very, very low price now? And he is a player that will take his shots. I think this dings Maxi a little bit because you have another ball handler in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's tough.
I think Shake's going to get up to a 9. Tyball's going to get up to a 9 on DK specifically. I'm still keeping Niang at a 7. I just don't think the efficiency from a shooting standpoint is going to stay the way it has been.
Yeah.
Seth and Maxi. They're both going to stick at an 8 for me.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Shake, big boost for him, in my opinion. We've seen really, I think, 20 minutes be the cap for him in the 4 appearances he's had this season. And starting, you certainly think he's going to eclipse that number tonight. Let's finish out here. 3 more teams to go. Phoenix side, I think we both were kind of on the same page where we don't have a ton of interest in the team as a whole. But if DeAndre Ayton remains out, Frank Kaminsky is a smash play on DraftKings with the power forward eligibility. I think you can also play him on SuperDraft, as I almost screw up the rankings here. But false alarm, we're all good.
I also think, I think JaVale McGee's still in play, but I definitely like Frank more.
Yeah. I have McGee at an 8 on DraftKings at 3.9. You said his minutes aren't going to go through the roof with 8 now, but 22 minutes of JaVale McGee, even 18 minutes of JaVale McGee at 3.9, more often than not, he's going to put up a score you'll be very happy with. Frank Kaminsky, 9 on DK for me. He's at 2x, man. Like, if he starts again on SuperDraft, I have him at a 10. I mean, you need 30 fantasy points out of Frank if he plays high 20s in minutes. Like, he is probably going to get you 55 to 65 SuperDraft points at that 2x multiplier.
It's Tyrese Maxey's 21st birthday today. Then I probably don't want to play Tyrese Maxey, right?
We need David. David, hit the Instagram stories and see what Tyrese Maxey and his friends were doing last night.
That's got to be the most elite. Like, seeing David do that over the last 2 years has been like the most entertaining thing on. Someone asked Shake Milton or Joe Ingles. I lean Shake Milton.
Yeah, just take the savings, and I'll play some of those other Utah options, and I can play those other Utah options with the savings you get on Shake Milton. You mentioned Jay Crowder earlier. I would actually prefer McCall Bridges. The minutes. The minutes are going to be more solid, and Jay Crowder is a.
Jay Crowder is only 4.6 on FanDuel compared to Mikal Bridges. I think he's almost 5.5. So for me on FanDuel, I prefer Jay Crowder.
Oklahoma City at the Lakers, closing out with the late night hammer, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. LeBron James is out. Kendrick Nunn remains out for this Lakers team. Trevor Ariza, Talon Horton-Tucker. I believe Dwight Howard is ruled in, or at least upgraded to probable, so we expect him to play. Anthony Davis also probable. Wayne Ellington, been probable and active for, I think, 3 straight games now and has not seen the court. So I expect that, unless I miss news, to stay the same. I think it's no hot takes here, Joe. Smash Russell Westbrook in, smash Anthony Davis in. I don't think, like, the Lakers have not proven yet this season that they can blow anybody out. So, like, we just saw they beat Houston by 2, had to come back. They beat Houston by 10.
But look at the win against Houston, what the big 3 had to do to win that game. So if they want to blow a team out, point is, like, Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook have to go nuts because no one else on this team is going to. My question here, I see on your ranks Malik Monk is a 9. I have this is for the first slate with LeBron. This is the slate where I actually have my hesitations with Monk because Wayne Ellington, there is obviously the strong DMP potential for Wayne Ellington, but Avery Bradley now getting rolled back into the rotation. All of a sudden, this wing potentially becomes a little crowded. With the value on this slate, do you still think, 1, Monk slides into the starting lineup, and 2, plays 28-ish minutes?
We'll get to everybody's questions here in about 2 minutes. Sorry, everybody. I know they're stacking up. We'll get to everybody to the best of our ability. Yeah, man, I think Malik Monk has to start. I think he has to play 30-plus minutes. You just don't have enough scoring. I'm more worried if we get the news that Wayne Ellington is going to play. But how many minutes, like, if his I believe it's a soft tissue injury for Wayne Ellington. Hamstring. If his hamstrings kept him out this long and he's been active just to be that body that's dressed out on the bench and they're not playing him, is he going to come off and play 25-plus minutes tonight? I don't think so.
It's a very good question.
And I just think they need Malik Monk's pure scoring ability. You saw in the 2 games that LeBron missed 39 minutes overtime game. So we'll say 34 in regulation, then 32 minutes the next time out in that kind of despicable loss at Oklahoma City that I'm sure Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis are looking to avenge tonight. Also, Carmelo Anthony, who continues to shoot lights out from the field, 5-3 on DraftKings. You have any interest there?
I don't mind Carmelo Anthony. I'm much more inclined to play him on DraftKings for 5-3, where he's 6K on FanDuel and doesn't get the 3-point bonus. But he's definitely not a priority because a lot of those guys are $1,000 cheaper. I much prefer to Carmelo Anthony at his price on this slate. Monk, I'm fine with, but you pulled me in a little bit with Malik Monk. I just don't know if you need to get there. I personally, if you're down in that range, still prefer both viable. I prefer KJ Martin over Malik Monk on this slate. I know there's the risk of Eric Gordon, but I do think Martin should hopefully see 22 to 25 minutes. He shoots when he's on the court. Obviously, so does Malik Monk. Outside of those guys, I have no interest in either Lakers center. At the end of the day, for me, the Lakers, it's AD and Russ.
Yep, same here. Oklahoma City side, I think we can kind of wrap this team up pretty quickly. If you want to roster Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, go right ahead. I think he's very strong at 8-4. Probably won't pick up a ton of ownership against
7-6 on 7-6 on FanDuel. SGA is actually one of my favorite plays because he is not going to be owned at guard with all the Jazz guys, Russ, Cunningham, any of those guys.
Josh Giddey, get you some 5'8", still
Love
too
Josh
cheap.
Giddey,
Guard forward eligible. Really helps you have some flexibility with your lineup. If Lou Dort is in, I'm going to have a lot of interest at 4.4. Questionable, practiced on Wednesday, so at 4.4, shooting guard only kind of sucks. Also interesting where DraftKings draws the line on some of these players positionally. But I like Dort if he suits up and plays. Obviously, being the late night hammer, we probably won't get that news in time. Darius Bazley, 4-6, secondary play. Fine if I see him in your lineup. Not going to call you crazy. I don't think I want to touch on the center roulette here. Like we saw Mike Muscala played the entire fourth quarter the other night for this team. Derek Favors really unless Muscala is resting, Derek Favors probably not going to crack the 18 to 20 minute mark. I think he's a fine value, but we talked about so many other pieces that we want to get to today. I just can't prioritize any of these cheap Thunder players. Are you with me on that?
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like the Thunder for me on this slate, it's SGM FanDuel, it's Josh Giddey on DraftKings, and that's it.
All right, let's hit some questions here. Scrolling up a little bit.
Cam just asked about B-Ball Paul. We're off of B-Ball Paul today. The one thing people are asking about Embiid. Embiid is an uber strong play on this slate. I understand there's frustration with him. I rostered him in both my single entries on both sites yesterday. 34 minutes yesterday. He's 32 in this game. Like this matchup is literally perfect. And much like the Lakers, Philadelphia is not blowing anybody out either. So I'm all over. Like FanDuel, I have Joel Embiid with Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis.
Would you roster, if you just had to choose one, Anthony Davis or Joel Embiid?
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. DK single entry. Good question. Shake or Cade? That's Cade for me, but obviously a lot closer now than it was 20 minutes ago.
Shake for me.
Yeah. Milton or Ingles? We already talked about Milton or Ingles. Maxey or Clarkson? That's an interesting one.
Clarkson for me. But Underdog just did tweet the Sixers availables. They only have 9 available players. I don't think Paul. They're going to run 8-man rotation. Charles Bassey's not going to barely see the court, if any. There's a very good chance we only see 7 Sixers play today. And play meaningful minutes, and because of Paul Reed and Charles Bassey. So I need to get a little more Sixers exposure, I think.
Yeah, and I just upgraded Niang to an 8 on DK. I mean, he's just going to have to play massive minutes, even with my, trepidation about his efficiency. That's a very solid play.
I think I now lean Niang over KJ Martin as well. So I've in my single entry at FanDuel, I have Thibault, Niang, and Embiid. I don't love it, but Thibault over Frank and McGee. If Ayton's in, yes, but if he's not, I prefer Kaminsky over Thibault. But the thing is, like, you can't make that swap because Thibault starts in 3 minutes. He locks. So I don't necessarily think you can kind of compare those guys. Shake or Cade Cunningham? I still prefer Cade.
It's Cade for me. If I was playing, I would be locking Cade Cunningham into maybe 150 lineups. Certainly if I was running my 20 maxes.
Yeah. I'll keep, if you're switching stuff up, I'll keep reading off questions. Are you guys okay with Al Horford against the Heat on DraftKings? I'm okay with it. Yes, it's not a priority, but I'm okay if he ends up in your lineup. Look here. Clarkson, Ingles, Rudy Gobert, and Conley too much in one lineup. I would probably take one of them out at that point.
I would take Ingles out if it was my lineup.
I would take Ingles out over those. Frank or Embiid on SuperDraft. Man, the problem is you're playing a guessing game with Frank. I would put Frank. Does Frank have forward eligibility on SuperDraft?
Both of them do.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Then I would play both and just have a pivot ready for Frank is what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, you can pivot to any number of guys.
Clarkson or Cade on FanDuel? Clarkson for me.
Yeah, it's close. I'm still going Clarkson, though.
Hunter or Reddish? DK price doesn't matter. Hunter for me.
I'll take Hunter in the minutes security.
Shake or Şengün? This is going to pull at your heartstrings.
Whew, yeah, it does. Give me Şengün.
Okay, I like it. Easy. You can play Şengün on SuperDraft if you do that because both Embiid and Kaminsky have
the other two at forward.
Yeah.
Jay Wynn hitting with the dots. Love it. Man, I wish I'll save my shit talk for 33 seconds from now.
God damn it. Do I want to play Joel Embiid? Oh my God. I hate that. Like, it's like Damian Lillard now. It's like, do I really want to do this? I have 20 seconds. It was really, for me, it was Embiid or Jaylen Brown. I think I got to go Embiid. That ceiling is just absolutely astronomical.
Mm-hmm. And Hugo was asking Şengün or Embiid on SuperDraft. I went Embiid there.
That's Embiid. There's so much
slightly different situation.
There is Seth Curry. Seth Curry is a very strong play. Someone in the DMs just asked me Clarkson or Seth Curry. I do still prefer Clarkson on FanDuel. But the reason I prefer Clarkson is because I'm not playing 4 Sixers. There's no way. If you don't have any Sixers, then I think you can go with Seth.
Bam, Horford, and Wood on FanDuel need 2 of those 3. It's Bam and Wood for me.
We are at lock. Do you want to play ownership quick before you out of here?
Yeah, let's do it. And I got to talk some shit, even though Eddie's not here.
Heat will start Lowry, Robinson, Butler. No surprises there.
Mm-hmm. Let me pull up the ownership. So, Joe, I don't know if you tuned in. No. Okay, that can come later. I can do that anytime.
Wow. Okay, that's very true.
So I don't know if you tuned in yesterday.
Yeah, I did for a little bit.
But Eddie and I have been doing some whiteboard bets as we go through our Wednesday shows and keeping tally on those. And coming into yesterday, I believe I was 3-5 in those bets. And we made 3 bets last night. One being the one in the Discord where we gave away some tickets to whichever side won. Hint.
Yep.
My side won. And we made 2 other bets on the whiteboard, and those were swept for a nice 3-0 night. So I'm now in the lead, 6-5 on the whiteboard.
Okay.
And to make matters worse for Swift Edward, we have a little SuperDraft employee contest, right?
Oh no!
Eddie got second last night. Your boy got first.
Someone said
suck it, Eddie. 4-0.
Kanye and Embiid, Bojanovic, great play. Yes. GPP. I actually prefer SG over Trae Young on FanDuel. I know that might be a hot take to people, but SG at 7.6 is just way too enticing for me. That's been my guy this year. I've gotten him right.
Would you say Trae was like 8.6?
8.7.
Yeah, I'll take SG.
$1,100 difference. Yep. We need a Kanye and Embiid, Bojanovic memoji for the. Yep, Deandre Hunter draws a start. No surprises there.
We need a shirt with Kanye Embiid, Bojanovic.
Are you pulling
shirts? I didn't check my mailbox yet, Joe.
Damn.
I'm too busy today.
We got Discord's gonna love it. We have a nice surprise on the horizon.
Do you like Wood over Şengün as well? Both 10s on SuperDraft. I'll take Christian Wood. 1.2x for him. And like I mentioned,
yeah.
I have a little bit of trepidation with Şengün getting the start again in this Phoenix matchup. A little bit different.
The thing is,
against the Lakers.
I'm even okay with, if you are uneasy about Şengün, I'm okay dropping to Kaminsky if Ayton's out. And if you want to leave 600 on the table, I'm okay with that. But if you can use that money elsewhere, I mean, I recommend doing it.
Well, and on SuperDraft, if you roster Şengün and you don't have Kaminsky in your forward spot, you can. It's actually not a drop. You can go up to Kaminsky 1.95 for Şengün and 2x for Frank the Tank.
I do not live in fear of rostering Şengün from our boy.
2v2 here. Conley and Giddey, or SGA, or KJ / Kaminsky. It would be Kaminsky if he got the start. I'm going to side with the second, with Kaminsky,
the second.
Yeah, both of those are great pairings, though. And in that case, my answer is always, if you can run two, run them both.
Yeah. Yeah. I lean a second. Bogdan or Clarkson? I want to clarify here that are you talking about Bogdan Bogdanovic or Bojan Bogdanovic?
I think Chase has the difference, right? And in that case,
okay, if that's the case, Clarkson, I have zero interest in Bogdan at all. Not only is he dealing with an ailment, but their wings are just so crowded.
I'm excited to do this ownership with you. I see some ownership that I like.
How many games locked? Just one, right?
Just the one. Philly at Detroit.
Okay.
I don't know if I didn't make it clear. Clarkson over Bogdan for me, but Bojan over Clarkson.
Yes, same. That's exactly what mine would be.
Easy goon. Where's my freaking ownership thing here? Come on now. It's just bragging on you, new computer yesterday. Don't let me down now. Here we go. All right, Joe. Who is the top owned player with all this value plus Cade?
It's got to be Cade.
It is not Cade.
Wow. Value in this. Is it Matisse Thybulle?
It is not.
What the fuck? Shake? It's not going to be Shake. There's no way.
Shake, number one.
Wow. Really?
It's too much.
55.
No, not that high. 41.
That's still too high.
What does that tell you about Cade Cunningham's ownership?
Way too low. Like,
it can't be higher than 41.
Hold on, wait, hold on. We were thinking it would be 60. It might be half of that. He's got to be, what, 35?
He's at 40 and a half.
Okay, I'll take it. I like that. Yeah. I like it.
Oh,
hold on. Tyreek's giving us a 4v4. Ready? I'll read out Christian Wood, SGA, Anthony Davis, and Frank. Christian Wood, SGA, Frank, Anthony Davis, or Horford, Russ, Bojan, Rudy. I am siding with Wood, SGA, Frank, and AD. If Ayton starts or sits.
Yeah.
But that's close. But I lean the first.
I'm going the first one because I love all those players, and I don't love Al Horford tonight.
I also don't love Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
Yeah, that is exactly my thing. I think if I'm just taking those, Joe Ingles starting as expected for Donovan Mitchell. Someone said Şengün at 1.95 or Wood at they asked again Şengün at 1.95 or Wood at 1.2. I'm going Christian Wood at 1.2 as well. I'm not slandering Horford. I've bet on him every damn night this year. I want to hear that, Braden. Jesus Christ.
Oh man. So check this out. We'll just run through the rest of this ownership here, Joe.
Yeah, okay.
Thybulle did come in third, 33.5%. I think that's about right.
That's about. I would probably match the field on that.
Yeah. Niang came in at 28%, which I think it's fine. I would have been a little under that probably, and would have felt okay. Tyrese Maxey 15.5, Sadiq Bey at 12, Seth Curry at 12. I like it.
I like Seth Curry's a lot.
Don't have to play a ton to get over that number. But then this may be the ownership that I love second most outside of Cade, not
Embiid.
being, Embiid 12.2.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Embiid's over 20% on FanDuel. He got up there, but that's because you go on a site like FanDuel where you have 10 grand extra, and you need to spend it somewhere. That's the thing. If Ayton sits, Wood and Frank Kaminsky, or SGA and Sengun, I lean first one, but I would rank those players in my priority of who I like most. It'd be SGA Wood or SGA Frank Wood Sengun. If in that scenario,
I agree. Man, like with that list of Philly players that are active tonight, do we see a Drummond and Embiid lineup? Like if Detroit has
this is going back to the Stanford days with Brooke and Robin Lopez, if that's the case,
or the Mobley brothers last year, USC.
Yeah. Somewhat reminiscent of Mo Bamba, or as Javi says, Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter, except Mo Bamba is a bit more of a stretch big than the other guys. Sure. Greg Monroe and Drummond days. Wow. Greg Monroe is a trigger word for me. I don't want to oh God. That was the biggest acquisition in Bucks history when it happened. That's how John
JJ is asking. I was gonna say JJ is asking is Favors viable. Yes.
I don't love it at all because this is that center roulette I just don't like playing.
I mean, I think he's their best. If the Thunder are trying to win this game, he is by far their best option when Dwight or DeAndre are on the court. I think when it's Anthony Davis, you're rolling with JRE. I think they should play more Roby than they are. And you'll probably get some Mike Muscala out there as well.
I also think they should play more Kenny Hustle than they are.
Yeah. I mean, if Dort's out, he's another fine value.
Yeah. If Dort's out, that just increases my infatuation with Josh Giddey.
Well, the only other piece of ownership that I would note here is actually a couple. Jeremy Grant at 8 is decent. I would have been over on that. Kelly Olynyk at 4.5 is nice, and Beef Stew 1%. Also, Killian Hayes 1%. So
I'll never complain about Beef Stew 100% or 1%. I'll never complain about that.
Exactly. Well, and again, as somebody who ran 20 max lineup builds, 99% of the time, those are guys that I would love to have in my builds 5 or 10% because it only takes that much to be 5 or 10x the field on a guy like Killian Hayes. Or
I also you and I both need Beef Stew to get going. Come on.
Did you see that question?
That's a good question.
Goodbye, Joe. I don't know if that was Thomas or just Joe disconnecting, maybe kicked out a court or not. Maybe Thomas can let me know. You're muted.
We did just lose Joe. Bringing him back now, I think. Yeah. There we go.
What the hell happened?
Boo. See?
My whole internet crashes. Let's take a look here. I would probably
there's a James Conner over here.
I know you have the James Conner.
There's a Casey Hayward over here. I don't even know if
you
know who
the
that is.
The Iceman. Casey Hayward was on the Packers.
Or not Hayward. Fucking Christ, man. Casey Hampton. Big snack.
Yeah, no, don't care. Can't hate on the Iceman. Can't hate on DeMar. You know what? I think I'm okay with all of them. Probably James Conner because he ruined my fantasy season, 2019?
Why, because you didn't
13th.
have him? Or what? You took him too high?
I took him 13th overall. That was the year he was supposed to go nuts after Le'Veon left.
That's tough. You should have drafted him the year that Le'Veon was still supposed to play and was holding out, which is what I did in every league and cruised to a bunch of championships. James Conner, baby. That's why I got the shrine over here.
That's also true. The cameras are all set up and everything.
Moses, what's up, Moses Guthrie? Currently ranked the same. Preference between Bam and Christian Wood. It's Christian Wood for me.
Really? It's Bam for me.
Okay. I'm not super excited to they're both 9s. Bam is a very strong play at his price, I believe 8-1 on DraftKings. Christian Wood 8-2. I'm more excited to play Christian Wood against Frank Kaminsky, Jalen Smith, JaVale McGee than I am to play Bam against Al Horford and the Time Lord.
Yeah, same. That's fair. Are you okay with the Stars and Scrubs build? It's Conley, Shake, Thibault, Kaminsky, Favors, Westbrook, AD, SGA. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Thing is, I don't think you can look at that as Stars and Scrubs because Thibault, Milton, and Conley are kind of just vaulted into roles, and potentially Kaminsky. They're vaulted into roles that constitute like a 6-7K price tag at times.
I'm fine with that lineup though.
Yeah.
Nice little late game hammer.
We're about to get booted for NFL.
Oh man, it's freaking Thursday. It's still NFL season. I'm gonna feel differently once the NFL's on my screen and I got the NFL over here and I got 3 NBA games going on this screen over here. I'm gonna feel great about it. So on that note, let's everybody who is subscribed, and if you're not, I don't know what you're waiting for. NFL guys have been cleaning up all season. It's seemingly on all sites. I don't know. Did you see Vlad have his little SuperDraft hit last week? I know there's other like DraftKings and FanDuel stuff going on.
No, but it's to your point. It's been all sites. It's been like you include Prize Picks, Underdog, everything. It's been awesome,
dude. Especially on showdown slates, like having D-Bro, having Tenacious D Jones over there. Like these guys are great. So flip over to that NFL stream. I believe that goes live here in about 5 minutes, maybe a little less. So we'll get out of their way. Good luck. Appreciate everybody tuning in. A little bit hectic with all the news tonight, but we'll
still don't have all of it. But yeah,
we'll be in Discord all the way up until that last game. So I guess that'll do it for us, Joe. For Joe, I'm Zach. For Thomas, behind the glass, we'll see you tomorrow. I'll be off. No ranks tomorrow from me, at least. But I know we've got plenty of FTN, other FTN sharps here, the best NBA minds in the business. So I'll remind you before we get out of here.
Let's get these beans.
Good night.